What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Between the Lines podcast. I'm your host, Shania Trotter, and this week we are going to talk about season 6 of My Hero Academia. I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I binged this season in like 2 days because there was just so much stuff going on, and we're probably gonna have to cut this into 2 episodes because I have a lot to talk about and to say because what the hell? Like, this was a crazy season. Like, I actually had to take notes on all the different points that I want to talk about. And I know for sure there's going to be things that I leave out just because I don't know. There's just so much. At some point, I do want to get into like live reactions or YouTube reactions or something so that y'all can actually like, see how I'm reacting to everything that happens. But for right now, I got my notes out. So what we're going to talk about first is the Todoroki family. Because here's the thing. Years ago, I was spoiled that Dabi was Toya, or that Dabi was Shoto's older brother. So I already knew going into this that, okay, like who Dabi was. I just didn't know how it was going to happen, right? So I'm not going to lie. When I saw the big reveal that, oh my gosh, like, what did they call it? Dabi's dance. I was like, oh, see, now if I wasn't spoiled, this would have been top tier. And it was still top tier. It was just the fact of the matter, it was like I already knew. I was just like, oh, okay, here it comes. I was waiting for it. Like, it low-key made me like, damn, I wish I wasn't spoiled because this would have been crazy. But it was still really good. But yeah, let's talk about the Todoroki family because it's just so much stuff with just that alone to where we might as well just start there. So let's talk about Dabi, or should we say Toya, right? Because I'm gonna say this first and foremost: if you're gonna be a villain, I'm not gonna lie, that's the way to do it. That I'm not gonna lie, the way he played the long game, and the way how for so many years he just let that anger and that hate and that jealousy and that envy, even of his other siblings and of Shoto, fester for all those years to where, let's be real, he had something wrong with him mentally as a child. Just that rejection from Endeavor, and let's be real, Endeavor is to blame for that. Let's be real. Because you have no business, Endeavor, putting all your hopes and dreams and your fears and insecurities onto the shoulders of your children. You have no right to do that. Okay, you don't think that you can, surpass All Might, so you're going to put that onto your children? Your unborn children at that. They already, all your children that weren't even born yet had this weight that was already going to be put on their shoulders. So as soon as as soon as you saw that, okay, Toya's burning his body, he is not going to be able to do what I would like for him to do, what I basically bred him to do, right? So I need to just create another one. Basically, it's as if, so from the show we get to see Endeavor didn't want Toya burning his body up, right? But he didn't express it in a way of like, oh, I care about you to the point where I do not want your body to burn up. It was as if like on the outside it was just like you did just throw him away. That's what it seemed like. And then you just created another baby, and then that one didn't fit your needs. So then you created another one that didn't fit your needs until finally you got Shoto. It's like now he's harboring animosity for Shoto, let alone you. But it's like Endeavor didn't even think, how would that make this child, your child, feel to be abandoned by you? Just because, first of all, you put this enormous dream and duty and obligation on his shoulders, right? And so now that is linked with his validation from you. And so that, and based off of how he is, that was really the only way you can get validation from Endeavor, is if you're able to achieve this dream, right? If you do good in training, if you can surpass All Might, or show potential of surpassing him and All Might. And so you put that on him, okay? And then you kind of just take that away. Oh yeah, you can't do it, so therefore I'm just moving on to somebody else. And you don't spend time with them. You get me? Like, it's just as if he wasn't looking at them as children rather than tools, right? Rather than weapons. And it's just, it sucks because that's on Endeavor. That's on Endeavor. And he fucked Toya up. He did. He messed that boy up because he was messed up before he even burned himself up in the mountains like that. He was messed up. He had a problem with people ignoring him. We even saw that when he was trying to talk to Natsuo about, like, when Natsuo was trying to sleep and he was just like, look, what did he say? He was like, really, I shouldn't be mad at Shoto. It's really dad. And I'm glad he was making that connection because I'm like, it's sad because Shoto over here want to hang out with his siblings but can't because now, oh, we just got to train. Talking about, oh, you don't got no time to play. You can let that boy play. He got 24 hours in a motherfucking day. Don't piss me off. But then you got Toya over here looking at Shoto like, oh, he the one taking up all dad's time. It's like, no, you need to be mad at Endeavor. Straight up. And it's like that jealousy from the first child or even the second child going to the third child, going to the youngest child at the time, that's real stuff. Whether they got quirks or not, whether you put your dream on their shoulders or not, even just alone, the first child having to share the parents, or especially a parent that they feel closest to. And then now there's a new child. So that's a real thing already on its own. Kids be trying to hurt the newborn child. That's normal. I won't say normal like it happens all the time. It don't happen to every family, of course, but it's like that's normal in the sense of like we have a lot of cases where you could have a toddler hitting the infant or hurting the infant. I mean, I've seen tons of videos on TikTok alone of that. And you just gotta watch these kids because even whether they mean it or not in a malicious way or not, you still gotta watch them, right? So let alone, okay, you know that your dad had faith in you at one point and you were gonna be your dad's saving grace, and now he just kind of like set you to the side, and now it's been years and now he's all excited about this newborn. Like, he was about to flame up little Todoroki or little Shoto as an infant, mind you. Like, this is crazy. That alone right there, that's not, like, when I say, oh yeah, kids having animosity toward the younger sibling, that is pretty common. But the fact that Toya was about to flame, okay, he was going to use his flames on infant Shoto, that's actually not normal. That is when even before that, they should have been like, okay, you need to spend some time with Toya. We need to sit down and talk to this boy. He might need to go talk to somebody. Because what the hell? For real, what the hell? If the parents weren't around in that very moment, like, you get me? Like, if Ray didn't have her freeze quirk, like, then what? So, like, he was harboring these emotions for a very long time. Way before he died. And even just us seeing him in the forest or in the woods or whatever the case is, and him using his quirk, and he's waiting on Endeavor, and Endeavor never shows. And he had to go through that alone. He had to burn alone. And just because that's his quirk doesn't mean that shit don't hurt. Like, that shit hurts. We've seen that even when Shoto overheats, like, it burns, it hurts. Thankfully, he has his ice to balance it out, but it's not good. So the fact that Toya didn't have that, and his flames were even more hotter or powerful than Endeavor's, says a lot. And just imagine how traumatizing that was to be, for one, waiting for your father. So you're expecting somebody to come to get you or to meet you or whatever the case is. And you see that things are spinning out of control. And you're starting to burn. Like, you're burning alive. And I don't know. I don't think we see him calling out for his dad. But the point of the matter is, subconsciously, or even consciously, you're waiting, hoping, praying that he will get there. At some point that he will get there, and he just never shows. So, I mean, in this season, we don't get to see how Dabi or how Toya made it out of the woods. They said they found some of his jawbone. So I'm just trying to imagine, how does that look for this kid to be missing a jaw? You know what I mean? Like, how did that look? Where did he go? Did somebody find him? You know what I mean? Like, what I think I still need more information. I'm sure we'll get that in season 7, but I'm just like, man, he was already messed up mentally before that night. So just imagine him knowing that his dad didn't come to get him, okay, until it was too late, right? He didn't come to meet him. He didn't come to see his flames, okay? And then on top of that, I don't know if somebody found him first or if I don't know. I don't know who patched him up. Imagine what. And real quick, hold on. When we look at Dobby, it looks like somebody stapled him. Oh my god! I was like, wait, what if he did it himself? I don't think so. I don't think so. He was a child, but it doesn't look like he went to like a serious professional doctor. It doesn't look like that. I don't know. We'll see. But he looks stapled. And that's, again, when I think of the imagery, it's insane. Traumatic, traumatizing, horrific. Especially to have to go through that as a child. And then I can't even imagine, again, with him using his flames. Mind you, he's not supposed to be using flames. So when I put that together, and I've been seeing all the times he's been using motherfucking flames, I'm like, Dobby, what the hell are you doing? Oh, Toya, sit your ass down. Dip him in some ice water. What is... You're not even supposed to be using them flames. And he been burning people up the whole time. This whole time been burning people left and right. I'm like, this is actually insane. He's been... Like, he doesn't care. Like, he literally doesn't care. He's literally just been living for this moment to expose Endeavor. And one thing about it... Because when the question of like, oh, do you think... Like, how do you feel about him exposing Endeavor that way? And this is the thing. When it comes to just Endeavor alone, right? The thing is this. When you are abusive, like, it's such a... It's a lot to unpack, right? It's a lot to unpack. Because when you do anything to anybody, even if it's not in your intention to be mean or anything, right? Let's say it just wasn't your best moment. I'm not even talking about Endeavor in this moment, right? You could be the bad guy in somebody else's story, right? In somebody else's story, you very well may be the bad guy. And that, like I said, sometimes stuff can just get misconstrued. Sometimes you cannot control how people perceive you, but and that's just anybody, right? And you just have to live with that, right? Of like, damn, I can't control how that person perceives me in their life story. Sometimes people just be making shit up. Sometimes they will just misconstrue something and it just is what it is. But when in Endeavor's case, when you were abusive, no, that is what you did. That, and you knew what you were doing, and you were a complete asshole, and you were abusive, okay? And we also see this moment as well between him and Ray when, I forget if it was the baby, I believe, before Shoto. So I believe it was Natsuo, I think. And basically he realized that baby wasn't going to do it either. And he's so angry. And he's looking at All Might on the TV screen. And again, just looking at like, none of the babies are coming out with both of the quirks. Like, being balanced the way they need to achieve what he wants them to achieve. And he has a moment where he's just so enraged. And he looks back at Ray. And Ray looks at him, and it's as if she understands. She understands that he's going to want another baby. Which means we have to have intercourse again. But I feel like this is implying, okay, this is the thing. I'm not going to say, that he essayed her, but with this context of him looking at her in that way, being so angry, so enraged, and knowing that he's not going to stop until he impregnates her and she has the baby that has both the quirks. And already Ray looks tired, right? She looks tired. She looks drained. She looks scared. And with him looking back at her like that, and she's looking down, and she's looking like defeated. She looking down, because I could only imagine how she felt in that moment too, of like, damn. She probably felt like some type of failure as well, being like, damn, why can't, even though it's not even her fault, right? That's his sperm. That's his problem. You feel me? But it's just like, I know, because let's be real, when it comes to things about all these things that are coming out about pregnancy and all this stuff like that, and find out a lot of the stuff being men's fault, that's just now coming out. That's just now coming out. So a lot of times, women, even now, still, because we're still learning these things, we're thinking like when stuff went wrong, we're thinking that a lot of times it was on them because that's what we were taught. And now it's coming out, oh, it's about how healthy the man's sperm is. It's about this. It's about that. Oh, okay, we didn't know that. So in this moment, I can only imagine Ray kind of feeling like some sort of failure, especially with him being angry and kind of like being angry with her as well. Not just angry at the situation, but he just seems angry with her as well. Of her feeling like, damn, why can't I just produce, a child that has both? Why can't I, right? Because now he's also taking his rage out on me. And it just feels like in that context, that scene, and if you watch the show, you know what scene I'm talking about. When he looks at her and she looks, and it's just like, I could only, where my mind went is that he probably like aggressively try to like or force himself on her to get what he wanted. That is where my mind went with that scene. And I feel like they intentionally put that scene. I appreciate that they didn't show everything, because we do not need to be shown everything. We can put two and two together, right? And yes, you can essay your partner, you can essay your wife, you can, because some people believe, oh, you can't essay your husband, you can essay your wife. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But like I said, no, we do not see it, but it's the context clues. You got to pick that up. We got to read between the lines, right? So all this to say, Endeavor knew exactly what he was doing. And when you are a damn demon in somebody else's story, whether that's your wife's story, it's your children's story, whoever, right? You can't control how they deal with those feelings. You can't control how it festers, especially if you don't do anything to atone for that behavior. So it's like, I can understand why Toya, based off of how he was treated, based off of his experience, I can definitely understand his anger towards Endeavor. Even his mom, if so far it seemed like he want that whole damn family to burn. That's what it seemed like. And I'm like, well, hold on. Wait a damn minute, because what Shoto do? He ain't do shit. And Natsuo and your sister, you feel me, like, and they were really young at the time too. So I'm just like, well, hold on now, wait a minute, because I can understand, just like how he had made that comment to his mom. He was like, I understand our grandparents were poor and that's why they sold you and this, that, and third. You didn't have no control over your life, and so that's why you married dad. But you did still choose to marry him, and you still chose to have me. So this is your fault too. And I was like, fuck, damn. Shit, I couldn't imagine my child saying all that and like being like, damn, fuck, because it's like, damn. And the look he had when he said that too, that's what Ray was talking about, those damn eyes, honey. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, shit, like, damn. But it's like, was he wrong though? And this is, okay, so this is where I say that Ray also failed her children as well. And this is not, let's not lose the plot. Let's not think that just because I'm saying, hey, she failed her children in certain ways, especially with Shoto, okay, with her, pouring that water on him. Whether people want to say, oh, she was in psychosis, or she thought it was Endeavor, whatever, she still failed him. Like, it's okay for us to admit that hurt people, and that victims can create other victims. And even Ray knows this. Like, even Ray knows this. So when people, they be in the comments talking about, it's not Ray's fault, nothing's Ray's fault, she's innocent and it's all Endeavor's. Like, no, this is not to say that her and Endeavor are on the same level. Of course not. But especially for Shoto, yeah, they both failed him. And Ray says this herself. And even when Shoto, like, when they were asking, so did Endeavor put that, scar on your face too, Shoto? And the Ray was like, no, it was actually me. And Shoto was still trying to be like, Mom, like, it's like he still kind of like wants to protect her because he understands that Endeavor is the big bad wolf. He is. Let's be real. He is. Or he was. Whatever. But that doesn't deny the fact that she still did what she did. It doesn't matter what state she was in. She still did what she did. And yes, she did fail Shoto in that moment. She did. And when you look at it from Toya's point of view, right? He's like, well, you knowing that Endeavor wanted to birth us, or wanted you to birth us so that he can get like this perfect weapon, and you agreeing to that, you were part of the problem too. And I was like, damn. And I know Ray, she was looking like fuck, because I don't think she ever probably even thought about it like that. And I think I like that point being brought up because, again, when it comes to abuse, or even when it comes to failing somebody, that can look in all different types of ways. That could look differently, right? Because for a child, right? For a child, that could look like, why did you even have me? For a different child, that could look like, why aren't you protecting me? And some people could be like, well, hold on, Ray, she tried. Like, she was a victim too. And some people, again, everybody's going to think about things differently. Some people could be like, well, why didn't she take the kids and run? Some people could say that. But then some people be like, well, hold on, what if she didn't have the funds? What if she couldn't go back to her family's house because, they didn't have the money? Like, what if, by law, since they were married, she had to go back? There's a lot of nooks and crannies. I don't know, a lot of gray area. But that doesn't deny the fact that could still be somebody's feelings of, hey, why didn't you do this? Well, why didn't you do that? That's the same thing for Shigaraki's family. Shigaraki's family knew. They're just watching him get beat up by the father because he wanted to be a damn hero. Talking about, and he over here itching and scratching because he's under so much damn stress. Okay, he's traumatized. And he's getting abused at home. Talking about, yeah, we're going to try to figure out, why you're doing all that itching and scratching. He's like, well, it gets worse when I come home. Yeah, because your husband is beating my ass. You got the mama up in there. You got the grandparents up in there. Nobody doing shit. Nobody putting their hands on that man. Nothing. Y'all not trying to leave or nothing. Now, mind you, again, I understand there's a lot of, nuance. I'm sure there's a lot going on to where it's not just that easy, that black and white, but still there's a reason why Shigaraki hated everybody in that family. You feel me? Because it was like nobody was really standing up for him the way that they needed to stand up for him for real. And that's why even when it comes to that, I can't even be mad. Like, at first I was like, oh, why Shigaraki just hate everything? Like, okay. But then seeing how it was as if he was kind of stuck in that child mentality, because it was like that's when All For One found him, when he was a child, after he murdered his whole family by, like, well, I'll say his sister was, I think, by like accident. But then after, like he said, he started to realize what he was doing, and he knew what he was doing, and it was just like, he was just doing it at that point. But I could understand where the hatred came from. And so again, I see all people's sides. I see Ray's point of view. I see, the kid's point of view. I see it. I do see it. But that doesn't, deny the fact that I feel the most bad for the kids, honestly, because I feel that they were failed in different ways. And, on top of that, there is only so much somebody can do. Because I don't know her, like, Ray's situation. Like, I don't know if they give more information in the manga. I kind of feel like this anime, depending on how it ends, we'll see. I may want to read the manga for this anime because I'm like, am I missing extra details? Like, I need to know. I want to know if there was a way that Ray could have left. Did she have a support system at all to where if they had found out that she was getting hit on and that the kids was getting hit on, that they were able to run back to them? I don't know. Because some families are like, no, just, you can't come here, stay over there. Or, oh, what did you do? Or, trying to victim blame. I want to know what support system did you have? Some people have support systems and they don't want to go, whether they're embarrassed or they feel shame or they're just not ready to go, whatever the case is. I just want to know, because then that would add more depth to the family ties for sure. But it just kind of seemed like, at least from what I'm seeing in the show, it seemed like she couldn't really leave, or maybe that wasn't an option since it was an arranged marriage. And so I don't know if she was considered property. I don't know. But definitely seeing the flashbacks, it brought their trauma and their family, their hidden, deep, dark family secrets to life. I do appreciate seeing it because it was just like, damn, it really adds context. Like, even just the scene where, Toya is still using his flames. Endeavor told Ray, you got to keep your eye on him. Don't let him out of your sight, this, that, and the third. Mind you, she has 3 other children. He is gone working all day. Okay? And then when he comes home, he trains Shoto and beats him up if he don't get shit done right. Whatever. 3 other children, okay, on top. So 4 altogether, mind you. And I can't keep Toya out of my sight, but I have to also keep all these other 3 in my sight too. Come on now. And so I can't watch him every little second. And then we did see, when she was trying to stop him, that he left, and here's another thing, because I will say this. When he did leave, and she was like, wait, are you going to go train out in the woods again, this, that, and third? You can't be doing that. And he, yelled at her, said all that stuff that he said, this shit is your fault too, whatever the case is. I was like, you see, since they already in an abusive household, because in my head, just me, as a black person in America, I was like, you see, that would have been a whooping right there. See, if that would have been a whooping right there. But I was like, you know what? They already live in an abusive ass household, and Ray is just, she don't want to put her hands on her children. You feel me? But I was just like, but you see though, I was conflicted, because I was like, now where the belt at? I was like, wait a minute. Who the mama? Who the hell he talking to? That was one side of me. I'm not gonna lie, because I was just like, didn't I say to stay in this house and you still gonna leave anyway? But then I was like, again, just remembering this whole family is traumatized. It's already abusive in this motherfucker. Like, we don't want to do no extra. So I can see how she was losing control of her child. I could see it. So that didn't help. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of like she can't control that child. Ray can't control that child, so therefore he out there burning himself, doing this, doing that. Now she got to face Endeavor's wrath, and I'm still being a parent to the other children. Like, goddamn. And mind you, the other kids watching all this, like, this is just not good, and it's just so sad how there's so many people, like, out in real life, like, dealing with shit like this on their day-to-day basis. People who have grown up with childhoods like this. And it's just, it really is heartbreaking. And another thing, when they showed Endeavor's face, his anger, right? He was so angry. And you got kid Shoto, yelling and screaming and crying, being like, stop being a bully, stop hitting mom, this, that, and the third. And you just see Endeavor's face. He looks like a monster. And I feel like this was this is why I say this was needed, for us to see the terror of him. The terror. He was horrifying. And this is who they grew up with. This is not the Endeavor that everybody sees on TV. Like, yeah, he got a mean mug, right? But he was a monster at home behind closed doors. And that's where we see those eyes that Ray was talking about. And we see those tiny, beady blue eyes, right? And Ray, that's where she says, she was like, what do you see when you look at me like that? Because again, right now, it's not even Endeavor. Right now is this I'm telling you, it look like a damn demon child. A monster. Honestly. Like, all the anger and hatred, all his insecurities, right? All his feelings of inferiority to All Might just came up and just are plastered all over his face. And it's like, that's what he looked like on the inside. At least back then. That's what he looked like on the inside. And that's what his family was seeing. And it was just, I'm not gonna lie, that scene was heartbreaking because I was just like, oh my God. And when you see Ray's face and she's just looking at him and she's terrified and she's crying, and it's just like, my God, like, again, this scene really put into perspective what she was talking about, where she was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Like, I don't think I can raise these children anymore. Because then we saw when Toya got mad at her and read her for filth, okay? He had those same beady blue eyes, just looking at her, and just angry, like enraged. And so it makes a little bit more sense. This is not me condoning what she did to Shoto, no. But I'm just saying it made a little bit more sense of when she turned around and she saw Shoto's blue eyes, okay? With him, his eyes were more like scared. They weren't enraged. He wasn't looking at her in disgust or anything like that. She was scared. I mean, he was scared that it just reminded her of Endeavor. It reminded her of Toya. It reminded her, just again, whatever feelings that look brings up for her, they all came up to a head. And again, this is not me condoning what she did at all, okay? But I'm just saying I can see what she means, because they all have those same eyes when they either are scared or they get upset or whatever the case is. And because she would see Endeavor's eyes when he would, abuse her and put his hands on her and whatever the case is, yell at her, scream at her, say all these terrible things to her. That's the look that he would have. I can see how it could be traumatizing, but she should have never did what she did to Shoto. And that's why I still say, she failed him in that moment, and she knows she did. And it sucks because, again, like I say, like, hurt people can hurt people. It really does. And so back to Toya. With that being said, right, when that is what those kids and what Ray was dealing with at home, and again, that was happening for years, okay, that was their life. And then Endeavor goes on, goes out in public and he's the number 2 hero, and everybody's, enamored with him, and oh my God, he's the number 2 hero, and nobody knows what really is going on behind closed doors. Yeah, I'd be pissed too. I would be pissed too, because what are we talking about? It makes perfect sense why Natsuo wasn't fucking with him, why Shoto wasn't fucking with him, and why Dabi and Toya was not fucking with him either. And especially with Toya being the firstborn, to where he didn't have to share Endeavor's attention with anybody and then just got dropped like a hot potato, honey. Straight up. I could see why that animosity festered over those years. And then on top of that, who knows what he really thought happened that night in the woods. If he just thought, oh, they just didn't look for him. Or I don't know. I don't know what he thought, because again, I don't know how we even got Dabi. I need to see. Did he staple himself together? Like, did somebody staple you together? You don't even got stitches. You got staples, honey. Like, that. I can't even imagine how I'm just like, oh my God, that sounds like some crazy human centipede stuff. Like, what movie was that? Human Centipede #2 or some Human Centipede #1? I don't know. That movie was disgusting. I don't know. That was crazy. But I remember one of them, an actual doctor did the procedures, but then a different one, somebody tried to recreate what that doctor did and literally stapled the people together. And it was horrific. It was one of those movies you just never watch again. But anyway, side note. But anyway, because I'm thinking, I'm like, damn, does that hurt him now? Like, it looked like the way he's patched up, it looked like if he moved too much, he could come apart. But anyway, yeah, it's like, for someone who's been abused, and here's the thing though, with Toya, we didn't see him actually get abused. Now, mind you, based off of how he was treating Shoto, it could have happened during training, but we don't really see that with Toya. And if anything, and that might have been like a progression type of thing of like over time, because okay, with Toya, he was the firstborn. He was very excited to, do the training and to make his father happy, this, that, and the third, and that made Endeavor happy. But as soon as they found out that Toya's body could not handle being burnt up like that, that's when Endeavor seemed like he got more and more, frustrated. And then they kept having more children every time. Every time the child wasn't able to, do what he wanted them to do, he got more and more frustrated. This is happening over a course of years. And so then by the time it gets to Shoto, when Shoto wasn't accelerating at the pace that he wanted him to, now he's beating them up and he's hitting them real hard and he's doing this to the point he's throwing up. You get what I'm trying to say? So with Toya, I don't even think that Toya got that version of Endeavor. If anything, he just got dropped. Like he just, like his focus, Endeavor's focus just went off of him and went onto the other children. And so I think for him, that was traumatizing in itself. Like just being neglected like that was traumatizing in itself. And so it's, I think just that neglect messed Toya up so bad to where, I mean, that's a form of abuse as well. Neglect, right? And so when you are actually the bad guy in somebody else's story, you don't know how they're going to deal with that, And so a part of me, when Toya, or when Dabi, we'll say Dabi, he exposed Endeavor in front of everybody. My beef with that is not necessarily that he exposed Endeavor. It was the fact that he aired the whole family's dirty laundry out in front of like it affected everybody. And not only that, now, first of all, we didn't even know your ass was alive. So now it looks like we a shitty ass family for like making it seem like we just left you out there. We didn't even know. We did look for you. For one, but for two, now we're the family related to a damn villain that's done all these terrible things. And then for three, again, now everybody's in our fucking business. And we can't handle this quietly now. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't feel too bad for Endeavor because I was like, well, yeah, like sometimes you do gotta deal with this shit. And I know you guys are trying to deal with it at your own pace and this, that, and third. But I don't really feel too bad because you were doing a lot of bad shit for a lot of years. So it's kind of like, yeah. I do feel bad for the family, though. I do feel bad for the family. I didn't like the fact that Dabi was using those cameras, though, to make it seem like, oh, Hawks just killed my friend in cold blood and he didn't even give him a chance. And I'm like, okay, Dabi. Now, I don't expect much for a villain trying to, get their point across. Of course they gonna, lie and do this and do that. Because that was one thing I didn't like. Even when it came, and we're probably gonna talk about that in the next episode. But when it came to Hawks versus Twice, I didn't like the fact that Dabi made it seem like Hawks just, aren't you supposed to be a hero? Like, what are you doing killing people? Now, mind you, yeah, granted, you got a point a little bit because it's just kind of like, yeah, we're supposed to be trying to jail you. But at the same time, that's a theme in this show, too, of understanding that every side isn't 100% good or 100% bad. There's gray areas, or both sides are just gray. That's what we're seeing. But also, what gives y'all the right to kill people and this, that, and the third? And then, yeah, we a hero, but it's just like, if y'all gonna be doing all this crazy shit, sometimes you might have to put somebody in the ground. I'm just saying, sometimes. I'm just saying. Because sometimes it depends on the person. And it depends on what they doing and what they want to do. Because it's like, for example, Gran Torino at some point in the season told Midoriya, he was like, you gonna have to take Shigaraki out. Like, he was like, sometimes the only way to free somebody is to take them out. And then when it came to Midoriya going to One for All, and they're testing him to see if he's willing to kill Shigaraki, and he was like, look, I don't want to kill Shigaraki. I feel like there's another way to do it. This, that, and the third. And I can get behind what he's saying a little bit, just because it's like Shigaraki ultimately has been a pawn this whole time, and if he didn't get involved with All for One, he would not even be a threat right now, because at the end of the day, he was just kind of like, he was stuck in like that child mindset. I remember I was like, Shigaraki acts like a toddler, and it makes sense because of everything that happened to him growing up, and he was just kind of stuck as a child, like even now. But then, he went through that experiment. Now he's extremely powerful, and then he dealt with All for One. So if he wasn't dealing with All for One and he wasn't All for One's pawn, he would not be a threat. Honestly, y'all could just imprison his ass and it'll be fine. Like, where is that? Tartarus or whatever the case is, even though All for One done shut that shit down. But the point of the matter is, it's like, I feel like it depends, and we're gonna see what they do with All for One. I'm gonna get done with season 7. We're gonna get to season 8. We're gonna see what they do for All for One, because I feel like All for One gotta go. Because if they don't take All for One out and they try to imprison All for One, I mean, we already did that. We already tried that. He has to go, actually. So I feel like, it's a little gray when it's just like, oh, well, aren't you supposed to be heroes? Why are you trying to kill people? But it's just like, sometimes people got to go. Sometimes people, and especially somebody like All for One, you prove that you're still a threat. You are still a threat. You have to go. If we just imprison you, you're gonna find a way to get back out, just like how you did in this season. So yeah, I didn't like the fact that Dabi was spreading this narrative that, oh, these heroes are just killing people in cold blood and nah. I'm like, oh, please. He gave Twice a chance. And I do like Twice, and we're going to talk about him in probably the next episode, because this episode's already too long, with the Todoroki family. But I like Twice because I feel like he was a perfect example. And honestly, not even just Twice. Honestly, low-key, everybody. Well, I don't know All for One's extensive backstory to where it would be like, I get where he's coming from. But it's just like, All for One seemed like he just got to go. But with all these villains, when we get their backstory and we get to see where they're coming from or why they're even on the side of the villains or the league or whatever the case is, it's like, damn, it's either like this person got a good heart, they just got mixed up with the wrong people, quote unquote wrong. And I'll say quote unquote wrong because who's considering them to be wrong, right? Because for them, the villains, they're the right people and the heroes are the wrong people, right? And vice versa. But what I'll say is, like with Twice, he just wanted community, right? And he found that with the League of Villains. And those are his friends. And that's why he's willing to die for them and kill for them. Okay. And the heroes are willing to do the same thing for their people. And I was just like, damn, that kind of sucks, because again, Twice is like, with Hawks, he gave him a chance. He did. He was like, look, just start over, just pivot, just atone for your sins. But like I said, just like how the heroes on their side, they're willing to die for their people, die for their friends, for people that they consider family, he was willing to do the same thing. And so, and I'm like, let's not act like Twice didn't just murder somebody right before Hawks got him. Like, he literally stabbed somebody to death right before that. So I'm like, okay, but I understand people putting certain expectations on people who call themselves heroes. I do understand that as well. But what is a hero? Look, that's a whole nother episode. What is a hero, right? Because I also want to talk about Stain as well in these next, and we're going to make another episode, but I want to talk about the conversation between Stain and All Might. I want to talk about Stain and his ideology. I'm like, we have to talk. We still have to talk about a lot. But yeah, just to wrap this up with the Todoroki family is just, I can't be too mad that Dabi outed Endeavor like that. I don't like the fact that it just, now everybody's dirty laundry is out there. Now the whole Todoroki family is looked at as like, oh, we can't trust any of y'all now. And now they do not have the grace to try to deal with this behind closed doors. Because this is, even that in itself was traumatizing. Like, the fact that, Shoto and Endeavor, first of all, Endeavor is frozen, right? But also, Shoto's just like, look, we'll deal with this later. Let's keep fighting. And he has tears in his eyes. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine your deepest, darkest secrets your deepest, darkest family secrets being outed to the world like that. Your deepest wounds, right? Being outed to the world like that while you're still trying to heal. You know? That's a lot. That's a lot. Now everybody kind of considers y'all a little shady because now you're, considered family members with this villain. Like, it's just a lot. It's a lot going on. I kind of feel like the scene where Endeavor's in the bed, in the hospital bed, and he's like, I don't know if I could fight my son. I don't know if I can do that. And, just he's crying, and then Shoto walks in on him. Oh yeah, when he was like, my heart's breaking. And then Ray walks in with the family, and she's like, your heart's breaking? And I was like, ooh, come on now. Go on and get him. Because let's be real, right? Your heart's breaking. And I think it was Dobby that said, you're only feeling this because, you finally been outed. And the thing is, before this, we were seeing Endeavor make a little progress. We were. But at the same time, he could do it on his own time, right? And I don't know. I just kind of feel like, to me, I do kind of feel like Endeavor needed some type of public shame. I mean, if you ask me, all abusers need some type of public shame. And I'm not talking about, like, for example, like with Ray, her situation. I'm not talking about, like, oh, just because, and not saying I condone what she did, but, like, just because of what she did, she needs to be shamed publicly, or not necessarily, not like that. But, like, somebody like Endeavor, who was an absolute monster to his family for years, yeah. And you're a public figure, yeah. Because that's just me. Because there's just too many times where we have celebrities and huge movie stars and, artists, and I mean, even people on TikTok who are on these huge platforms, and football players, basketball players. Like, we just have so many people who are in the public eye. They're making so much money. They have so much fame, and they are absolute monsters with their family or with their loved ones or whatever the case is. That, to me, you do need to get shamed publicly. You need to be exposed. You need to get shamed publicly. Straight up. Because what you're doing is not accidental. It was not a one-time thing. It's like, absolutely, you need to be exposed. It just happens that by him exposing Endeavor in that way, he also aired out everybody else, and it affected everybody else. Obviously, we see that Dobby don't give a damn. Like, he didn't even care not to what was gonna die. So he don't give a damn. But, if there's a way that you could expose, like, these abusers, and they have to atone in public and not just in private, yeah, I would have been more here for it. But it's just like, I just hated the fact that it's like, damn, that now that's adding more trauma to everybody in the family. It was just like, damn, that's a lot. So now I'm looking forward to seeing how the Todoroki family will navigate this situation and navigate, their family trauma. Dobby, I like the fact that Ray stepped in and she was like, look, this is not just on you, because that was my son as well, and I felt him too. And so we gonna be there for you. We gonna help you with this, because we're gonna do this as a family. And I like how Natsuo was like, yeah, but just this one thing though. Like, I still don't fuck with you though. And I can't even be mad at him for that. I can't even be mad. So we gonna see. Next week we gonna talk more about, like, Shigaraki, Bakugo and Deku. We gotta talk about that as well. So yeah, we it's a whole lot with this season, but I will see y'all next week. Okay, thank you for joining the In Between the Lines podcast. I'm your host, Shania Trotter, and I will see y'all next week. Bye.